Leading in a volunteer organization requires a unique set of skills. When leading volunteers, it's important to recognize the contributions of all members, regardless of volunteerism. At any time, a member can become a leader in the organization. We're here with past district leaders who have agreed to share their experience and offer advice for leading in a volunteer organization. Let's hear what they have to say.
How do you recognize their contribution, and how do you keep them motivated for the duration of their role?
To me, the thing that I have found most valuable is to find why that person would want to do that. I need to discover with you why you might want to be an area director. What could you get out of that? Because their self-interest has to be met before they're going to be really committed to seeing that year through. Mm-hmm. So I need to help them identify what it would be they would gain. And so I'm always looking for that kernel of talent. But let's make sure we put the talent where they experience joy and have the most growth.
One of our roles as a district leader is to look for future leaders. That's one of our roles. And what I do, and I believe really works, is to ask more questions so that people can have a dialogue about what they like. Mm-hmm. And that's how you connect what they value to our organization. And it just takes a lot of visiting and talking and sharing Toastmasters and sharing what we do, and then also sharing your story. So when I share my story about my success, it inspires someone else to say, hey, you know, I never thought that I could do that, but listening to you now, I'd like to give it a shot.
So we're using all the social media apps. They love it. And on top of that, I like to take the time. I do personally call my area and division directors when they're doing something phenomenal. And I will also call individuals who are doing something phenomenal. And the other thing I do is also, we send out personalized cards. So I made a quick note to them. They really appreciate that as well.
Let's talk about that team dynamic itself a little bit more, and specifically the importance of building respect and trust on your team. Why is that so critical?
Wow, respect and trust really has to come from a personal relationship. You have to demonstrate that you're worthy of the trust. And I think some of that emanates from being willing to do any task that you ask someone else to do. I hear a lot of people talk about delegate, and there is a moment when delegation has its place, but there's also a time where you need to step up and model how to do something and that you're willing to do it as well. And when you do that, you build a trust and a respect.
And I think when our members and our colleagues, they see that we're willing to do the work and that we're not above it, because we're servant leaders. And that's our job, is we're helping people become leaders.
And so when they see that you are keeping your promises to whoever, I think that's where the trust and respect come in. I think when you talk to people and they ask you for something and you say you have a solution for them, they're actually expecting you to deliver on that solution. Mm-hmm. And each one of those moments is an opportunity to build trust.
Anybody else? Thoughts on building integrity and trust on your teams and why that's so important?
With regard to integrity, while of course a leader needs a vision and to be able to communicate that vision, the other thing is to be able to admit a mistake and an occasional willingness to compromise or change direction in the light of new information. So one can't be so set on a certain course that he says, you're going to do it my way or no way.
What's the importance of having a really good succession plan in place? What are the things that you do there?
It's holding ourselves accountable as district leaders to look for the future leaders. And in our succession planning, we talk about transition. How do we transition from the old team to the new team? And transition planning is like succession planning. It's more than just, well, here's a file, what I used, use this file, or, here's some notes, or, I use Excel, so you should use Excel. But it's it's a process. You know, it's meetings. It's sitting down and looking at, you know, what was done in the past and where we need to go in the future, and how do we cover that gap. You know, it's the who, what, where, why.
When I think of succession plan, I think of a little component, and that's mentoring. And the reason why I say that is typically every year when the club growth director is elected, they're the new person on the block, on the team. We found that this year we asked one of our past district governors, who was really good when it came to following up on leads, to help that club growth director. It kept him focused, and it really made a difference. So when we talk about succession plan, I think we need to also consider finding those mentors who can at least help those new leaders in their roles.
Make sure you find the joy in what you're doing, because people will see that in you. And if they see that you are perceiving it to be a burden, then they will also take on that mantle. So you need to find for yourself the kernel of joy when you're in a volunteer position. Understand yourself, have clarity of why am I doing this, and be happy about having the opportunity to do it. And others will follow you and be part of your team.
Be prepared to give of yourself to other people. It's not about you. It's not about having a fancy title or a name, but be prepared to help others become the best selves that they can possibly be, and help them be leaders, help them master things that they never thought would be even possible to master.
We've heard some great advice on effectively leading in a volunteer setting. Apply these tips as you prepare for your own leadership role, and reference them periodically as you work with your team of volunteers.